What is going on, everyone? It's Ultimate Spy 53 here, and welcome to another episode of Reviewed number 121. And today I'm going to be reviewing the movie Kubo and the Two Strings. So what did I think of Kubo and the Two Strings? I thought it was beautiful. Honestly, it was fantastic. So basically, this is the third film in the Laika stop-motion animated films. I had to avoid ParaNorman because it just, I don't know, it didn't appeal to me because of the, you know, the undead stuff and that. So I avoided that completely, even though I've heard it's a very good movie. I just avoided it because I'm not really into that kind of stuff. But I would have imagined that's also a really good film. But basically, this is a, you know, the third in their films, and they make amazing films. And this movie was no doubt one of their best ones. I mean, I haven't seen ParaNorman, so I wouldn't really know if all four of them are the best, but this one was actually really good. It tells a really interesting story. I gotta say, just it has the way they use their stop motion to tell a story like this. It turns out to be amazing, and it's beautifully animated with beautiful music. I mean, seriously, the music is gorgeous, and it's a wonderful story. It's really quite interesting, and it definitely has that Coraline vibe to it with the the stolen eyes and all that stuff. But it's just an amazing film, and it's also set in Japan, which is very interesting because that's the first movie that's set. I think Coraline was set in Oregon. I don't know where ParaNorman was set in, but then you have Boxtrolls set in like Victorian London times or whatever, and then this one's set in Japan, which is very interesting. So I don't know, it was really interesting to have that happen. But also the two strings about it, they were like wondering what are the two strings about that. It's basically on the kind of like Japanese guitar that they had. Basically, it's this you have his mother's hair, and then you have his father's bowstring, and that's the two strings. Very strange, but that they made it up. I don't even know what. If you're gonna call a movie like something, you're gonna have to call it something that makes sense, because this isn't intended to make sense of it. Because but I guess it kind of does make sense because the guitars, or the Japanese guitar, which is known as a shamisen, whatever you call it, that is basically like it's magic. It has the power to drive things away, make blow, make a killing blow. Essentially, it's really cool. By the end of the movie, you have three strings, which is his mother's hair, his father's bowstring, and then his own hair force. But in the majority of the movie, like a good portraying the movie, like most of the movie, in fact, he has two strings, and that's why this movie is called The Two Strings. Although you get three strings at the end, that's just the way it is. But I gotta say, it's a really interesting way, especially the animation and the magic of the salesman. It's really amazing. This movie is fantastic. It doesn't really have an issue with it at all. But the main idea, without telling the entire plot, because I don't know how to do that all the time, but the main idea is that his grandfather, the Moon King, has taken his eye. He basically has to defeat his sisters in order to challenge the Moon King and then defeat him or whatever. I don't know, it's weird. But also, his father is also cursed into this, his form is like a stag beetle or human hybrid, kind of mix between a stag beetle and human. It's like a human hybrid. And he basically transformed into that because he didn't know that beetle is actually his dad in a form of stag beetle and human hybrid combined, which is really interesting. But also we have his mother becomes, after his mother dies, two sisters who are like this other mother type of things. Basically, she gets reincarnated into the snow monkey charm after being killed by her sisters, which is also known as his aunties. They kill her, and then she becomes reincarnated, like her soul becomes entrapped in this snow monkey charm, which becomes comes to life after she dies. And it's really interesting. They go on this adventure, and it's really interesting. But yeah, like I said before, the aunties remind me very much of the other mother because of the creepy characteristics of them, just because they're so creepy, and they have these weird masks with wet lips, and it's the masks themselves are just creepy because they have a straight face. I mean, the mother didn't have a straight face, but like they are just creepy, and the mother just about creepy. So it just has that Coraline vibe to it. It's really, but also I had amazing voice acting, and seriously, I had Charlize Theron. I've only seen her in like Actually, I've only seen this movie basically, so I haven't really seen anything else. I knew that she was in the Hansen movie, but I didn't see that movie, so I don't really know. But it also has Ralph Fiennes. It has George Takei, which is really cool because he the only thing I've seen him in is Star Trek, and I've only seen him on a couple episodes. I'm behind. But the story itself reminds me a lot of Coraline. I keep bringing that up, but like, it's the fact that this movie reminds me so much of Coraline because of how it's similar. Because the story revolves around him losing his eye when he's a baby. He has to protect his eye from being taken by the grandfather or whatever, or the sisters or whatever. And that's kind of like how Coraline was trying to prevent herself from getting buttons for eyes, all that stuff. That was really crazy. But yeah, it has a really cool story. I like the story. It is, it's always difficult to make stories with stop motion animation, but it's pretty good. I also learned out during the movie, the production of this movie, that 1 second of film for the movie takes about 3 weeks to make. So if you go to the movie, you time it to 1 minute, or you time it to 1 second, sorry, and then you kind of look at that frame, that whole 1 second of film you see. That took about 3 weeks. So, and you think about that in terms of how long the movie was. It was about 90 minutes, a little more than that, because it's an hour and 42 minutes, but there's credits, closing credits, so it's several minutes longer with the credits added, but it's still a really standard feature film, so it's like 90 plus minutes. But you think about that in how long it took to make, because it's like 1 second of film took 3 weeks to make. That's months of minutes, and that takes, like, of course it's gonna take over 2 years. That's over 2 years of film to make, because they had to film it, they had to make they animate it, they had to edit it, all that stuff. It takes a long time. But also, the really interesting thing about this movie that I found was really amazing was that the way that Kubo was able to use the origami making skills, powered by the music, because he's able to make his origami look amazing, but with the shamagi, whatever you call it, the weird guitar, Japanese guitar, and basically he's used his skills to make an origami, and I found that was really interesting, because he was able to make, because especially they're in the throughout the movie, through the journey there, or they're trying to find the armor, basically. That's her quest is to find the sword, invulnerable, the armor, impenetrable, and then the helmet. I can't remember the whole thing, but basically they need to figure out a way to get across. And so Kubo decides to use his music talent to music a origami ship, basically a leaf ship, a ship made out of leaves. It's crazy. It's amazing. But that was something I always really found. I always found interesting when whenever he was able to make things out of music, or even when he did that music, he's able to make things out of origami just based off of his origami skills. Because he's not always using it, like especially in the beginning of the movie, he doesn't always use music to make his origami things. But in general, I just love the fact that he's able to do that, because it just because it has amazing music, and with that amazing music, he can make all sorts of amazing things, and the ship was one of the coolest things he made. And of course, aside from ParaNorman, which I just don't want to watch ever, because of its horror elements, every Laika movie that they've made has been amazing. They've made incredible animated films, and that's what's amazing, because with the power of stop motion animation, you can make amazing movies. They take time, but they're amazing, and that's why I've always loved the motion animation, and it's something I've been really passionate about. So seeing this new movie, which only took, Boxtrolls came out in 2014, and this movie came out in 2016. I mean, I was a little late to the bar, I didn't in theaters, but still, it's interesting the fact that they can make, this many movies, every couple of years, which is fantastic. But yeah, I think it's amazing with the power of stop motion animation. You can make amazing things, and I believe this happened in ParaNorman, where they're able to 3D print all their models and also all their facial expressions. So every facial expression and every model they made for the movie, for every character, they were all 3D printed, which is amazing. And it was, I think, what introduced in ParaNorman, where they were able to do everything 3D printed, but like this one, they did the same thing here, and it was even more incredible. Like the Moon King, the dragon thing he takes form of, that's all pretty printed. That was a lot of hard work. All the set pieces were all, I don't know if all of them are 3D printed, but a lot of the models are. I don't know if all the set pieces were actually 3D printed, but I'm pretty sure a lot of the all the models, I'm pretty sure, all the facial expressions, every unique facial expression they made was all 3D printing, which is amazing. This one came out 2016. So the next one coming out is Missing Link, and that's coming out in spring next year, so 2019. And I'm actually looking forward to it. It looks like that's like a really interesting movie. It has like the voice acting is like going to be even more common, like Hugh Jackman, Zoe Saldana. That's just a few of the people that I've found out were coming. Also Matt Lucas. But yeah, the next looks like it could be really interesting because, like I said before, you know, with Laika making a movie every couple of years, Laika tends to normally maybe release a movie every 2 to 3 years. It really depends on the movie, but like, you know, that's why every film that I make takes so long to make, because it just takes time. But basically because stop-motion animation takes a lot of time to perfect. I mean, a lot of time. And if you think of the Boxtrolls ending, that took a lot of time to make look good, and like every time, because you have like this one and now the other ones before it, they do it making amazing movies, but also just in general they take a lot of time to make. But also, one of the voice actors that I recognized very much was Ralph Fiennes. I don't know if you pronounce him Ray Fiennes. That doesn't make any sense. There's no Y in there. So Ralph Fiennes. I'm gonna call it Ralph Fiennes because there's all the reason to pronounce him Ray. So when I found that Ralph Fiennes was the voice of the Moon King, I was expecting him to sound like, I was expecting to have his Voldemort voice essentially. But it turns out like a lot of other voice actors in the film, they all had a regular American accent. Even Art Parkinson, who is Irish, apparently found out, they all have American accents. I mean, some of them it's not almost, they kind of almost sound a mix between their native accent and American, but most of them are all British. But I could definitely hear a little bit of Voldemort in there because Ralph Fiennes is a British actor, but it's interesting the fact that like because I can still hear his voice in that role. Even when I have a different accent, I can still hear his voice, which is I find really interesting. So, yeah. But yeah, I just feel like it amazes me that with every new stop-motion film I see, that it's all thousands and thousands of individual pictures, being played one after another very fast. I mean, it's insane. So like each movement from a character, like if they move their hand, if you see one of their they see an eyebrow raise, or they move their mouth, that is pictures moving very fast. And that is why I want to kind of pursue so much animation, because I think it's a really interesting department, like little interest of mine. I want to keep doing it. And so I remember making that Doctor Who animation that I did back in 2015, and that was amazing. But I want to keep doing more. I mean, I don't have figures for that yet. I want to be able to get those figures and make that happen, but I plan to make more of those happen. So, watching these movies, it makes me really inspired to make more of those and kind of like experiment around and see what I can do. But also, just in general, this movie had it was amazing. I didn't love it. I thought it was, it's a little bit boring, but honestly, it has some really fun characters, amazing voice acting, amazing animation, gorgeous scenery. I mean, in general, the movie is gorgeous. It's fantastic. I don't really have an explanation for it, but like, from the animation style, from the voice acting, from the art style, from the all the amazing stuff about the movie that really made it amazing was the fact that Laika knows how to make amazing movies, and with this movie, it looks amazing. Even though you think about little pictures there, it's just, I don't have anything else to say about it. I mean, it was just purely amazing, and I don't know, like they really did a good job with that. The fact that that they were able to do it so well is amazing to me. But also, at the end of the movie, I kind of confused me because like I know that his mother died and his father died, but then the grandfather, I thought he was dead. Wasn't he dead? So like he came back to life because he was defeated, but because in the form of the Moon King, he was destroyed by Kubo. I don't understand that. That doesn't make any sense. But in general, it was a very wonderful story. I loved it. I enjoyed it a lot. I don't think it's my favorite out of all like movies that I've seen so far, but I definitely think it was impressive. I think it was a very well done story. It's a challenge to make stories with emotion. It really is. It takes a lot of time and effort, but at the end, I think it's worth it. They make amazing movies. That's why it takes so long time to make movies, because they have to make take pictures of the characters and move one and then make the other picture. It just, stop motion animation is a crazy amount of work, and I want to really do more of that. I want to have fun with that, make stories with it, make videos about it, and and have a lot of fun because I love animation. I'm a big animation person, and Laika makes fantastic movies. And I think Kubo and the Two Strings was a fantastic movie. Not my favorite, but I still enjoyed it. It still was a very interesting story and a very interesting movie, and I liked the characters in it. I thought it told a very, I mean, you know, the movie itself was beautiful, but yeah, I liked it. I think also what was interesting about the mother at the beginning of the story, the fact that she was like, I think she was so weak that she would hardly move. I think I don't exactly know how it worked, but it was very, because it was like she would hardly, you know, she would hardly move at all because she was so weak, and that was something that was really interesting to me. But yeah, that's really all I can say about the movie. Fantastic. I didn't really have any issues with it. I just thought it was, you know, a little boring. Like I didn't really. It was enjoyable, but it wasn't my favorite movie, and that's why I kind of felt like it was a little boring because the story, you know, it went on, but like it felt like it was taking forever, and just like, I don't know, it kind of felt a little boring, but it wasn't. I enjoyed it because it was a stop motion movie, but I just kind of felt a little bored by it because the story wasn't taking that, you know, it was taking, you know, time to progress, but also I did find that it had some good humor in it. You know, Beetle was a very funny character, and you know, the arrows. Also, one thing about the arrows that in the movie that was really interesting was the fact that, like, you can see it's like, you know, 10 arrows in his pack. Beetle, especially when he's striking at the skeleton. But when you see the pack after shooting all the arrows, he's got like he shot like 20 arrows like that. You see the pack, he's got like it feels like the arrows just replenish like that. He's like Legolas. He's like arrows replenish or whatever, but like that. But still, I think it was still a really interesting movie, and it was well done. So I didn't really have anything against it. I just thought it was a little bit boring, just a little bit. So yeah. Anyway, that's gonna do it for this review. And as rating it, I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. Mainly because I didn't, I enjoyed it, but I didn't love it, and I didn't think it was one of the best movies that Laika has made. I mean, every movie they make is amazing in their own way, but I didn't think that this movie was amazing, like amazing. It was amazing because of the way they animated it, but it wasn't amazing because because I just felt it wasn't as interesting as I thought it would be. I mean, it was very interesting, yes, but like, it didn't like pique my interest to where I was like, you know, was really nerding about it, or I didn't love it. But I definitely think it was impressive. It was interesting in the storytelling, I didn't find it interesting when I you know, in terms of everything else about it, but I definitely felt it was well done. So that's why I'm gonna give it a 7 out of 10, because I mean, that's not bad at all. I just didn't, you know, I wasn't in love with it. So but anyway, that's all I can say. So anyway, yeah, thank you guys so much for watching this episode of Reviewed. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please hit the like button. I really do appreciate support. And if you're new to this channel, subscribe for more episodes of this series and other series that I do, as well as other great content. And I'll be back next time with another episode. Alright? See ya.